I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Jolpy and Ghosty.
What color would you like Jolpy to be today?
Well, this is True Cult, so it's gonna be kinda, yeah. Like it's gonna
Dark.
have to be the red.
Darkness.
No parents.
No parents.
Did you guys see that on that was the Legos Batman, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so terrible. Okay. So, the True Cult, one of our alliances on Patreon, you can join us there if you want to jump into an alliance yourself, suggested this song, which is, you want to take a stab at that, babe?
It's, well, you're
Too many words
you're
there.
you're
No,
French,
here we go.
supposedly.
You know the truth about that.
Dueil Angoisseus.
So apparently this song got translated by one of our villagers.
Yeah.
And so we have
It
this
took them
we have
months.
months to translate this. So yikes. Okay, so anyway, so we're gonna play this one. And we'll see.
And hopefully it's not a depressing song. I've had a lot of those today. Good Lord. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Go!
Go.
Black metal.
beaucoup d'hommes et de femmes, beaucoup d'enfants, sourds et malentendants, sont coupés de toute communication. Étrangers au milieu de leurs frères, blessés par ceux qu'ils aiment. Que le Seigneur les accompagne pour que leurs yeux et leurs mains soient signes de la réconciliation.
That's interesting.
I think the outro is actually
Like a sermon or something?
sets the key to understanding the song. So here's what the outro is saying. In this world, many men and women, many deaf and hard of hearing children are cut off of all communication, estranged in the midst of their brothers, hurt by those they love. May the Lord accompany them so that their eyes and hands may be the signs of his reconciliation. Mm-hmm. And then, so the lyrics of the song, there's not many lyrics, so anguished mourning, unmeasured rage, hopeless violent grief, unending languor and miserable life, full of cries, anguish and torment, heart in pain, living in obscurity, Stygian body on the verge of departure. I have, unending continuously and without healing nor death. Mm-hmm. I think that I have might be I live, or maybe I exist, unendingly, continuously, and without health, mm-hmm. healing, or death. So, you know, a lot of disabled people. Yeah, I remember reading Helen Keller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And her tutor, who, good night, was has to be among the Elohim. I mean, this woman, because you know. Helen was actually pretty angry, which
yes.
makes a ton of sense.
Yes.
And just the way that the you know, in the olden days, the way that disabled people were treated, just very crazy.
Well, I don't think that, from my understanding of Helen Keller's story, I don't know that she necessarily had like it's not like somebody who, like, if all of a sudden you found out that you were actually able to fly and the rest of the world had been flying, you just couldn't see them flying, you wouldn't have been angry all your life that you couldn't fly, you didn't even know. She had no concept of what sight was, nor hearing. She was born like that, so she didn't feel necessarily the loss of what she had. She was spoiled, from what I remember in the story. Like, it's not like she didn't understand, she couldn't hear or see, so she didn't know she was missing out on something, but her parents felt so bad for her that they never ever punished her or scolded her, and anything that she wanted they gave to her. They didn't know how to teach her because it seemed like it was outside of their, you know, like, how do you teach a child anything if they can't see or hear? And so they, you know, they could never do anything. Like, they just gave her whatever she wanted. And so to me, she didn't seem so much angry as she did spoiled, from what I remember of the story.
Yeah.
What? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, I hear what
How
you're
can
saying.
you be angry if you don't even know you're missing out on something?
Well, I don't. I understand the concept of that, but I don't believe that. Like, for example, the man born blind. Jesus said, "What do you want?" He said, "I want to see." Well, why would he want to see?
Because he understood that sight was a thing. He could hear people talking. Oh my gosh, look at this, look at that. She can't hear and she can't see, so she doesn't know what anybody else is doing around her.
Yeah, I just don't agree with it. To me, that's one of those things where the concept is great and it's logical, but I don't think it takes into account human nature. But either way, I mean, I don't want to get stuck on Helen Keller. I'm just saying, in this song, though,
look,
the people are extremely unhappy. Mm-hmm. We know that. They're mourning, and it's this unmeasured rate. But it's this weird thing, like back in the day, people used to just discard, you know, people with any sort of disabilities,
Yeah,
whether it's mental
what's
disability
this?
or whatever. Stygian, so
Is that where you're getting that it was? I didn't get that it was anybody with a mental disability, but is that where you got it, or?
no, I'm just talking about the life that people lived back in the day. So
Okay.
whether it's, you know, a mental disability or an actual disability, I mean, this one is specifically talking about deaf, hard of hearing children, you know, da da da. I'm just broadening it out to, you know, mental illnesses as well. You know, you just chuck them into the insane asylum where they did all these horrible things. Or, you know, people who are, and, you know, they used to call them, you know, invalids. Which
Yep.
an invalid, if you, it's literally spelled the same
Invalid.
way as invalid.
Yeah.
You know, and so and so's a vegetable. So just the way that people in that circumstance. I mean, I think we've probably made some advances, but you don't really hear a lot. You know, in the entire like social justice milieu, like disabled people really still don't really get a voice. I mean, LGBT stuff, black people, sure, you know, but disabled people really haven't been able to express this is what life is like for us, you know. But definitely back then it was much worse than it is now. Stygian bodies, Stygian I think is like you had Styx in the Greek side, which is a river of the dead. You know, you go on, you got to give the guy a whatever. I think Stygian is probably the Roman version of it, but it basically he's saying that he's a living dead person when he says Stygian body, you know, on the verge of departure. Like he's basically dead already, but you're not really dead because you have to keep on living, and all the rest of it. But the song just had kind of a, especially at the end and the outro, it had kind of like a really old school feel to it, like 1920s Europe type of feel to it. And you were out of luck if that was your condition back in the day. You know, that like you were not going to get treated well. You know, I think it's pretty crazy. And then it's kind of like the irony of like, it's really interesting with black metal because you ought, like, I remember, you know, when we first listened to Behemoth, which I get it, Behemoth is Black and Death, they're not technically a black metal band, but I remember when we were first listening to Behemoth and it was like, oh, this is, black metal is like devil music. It's like the devil, you know? And I don't know, man, it just seems to me to be a lot of grappling with some major issues with a real spiritual consciousness that, to me, you don't really find in a lot of... I think Patushka's come pretty close to it, but I really think, like, if one of these guys got their hands on some Psalms, that they would see that there is a lot of black metal in the Bible.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
yeah, I think these guys... That statement at the end is just very captivating me for some reason. I don't know why. But it's almost like this song is like speaking for those people and making sure that those people have a voice, which is actually a very, I'm not going to say Christian, but virtuous thing to do. I think it's virtuous to be able to speak up for people in that type of situation. And like I said, like in the past, we treated them horribly, but I'm not, that's why I said, like, you know, I'd like to hear like what a modern person feels about the way they're treated in society, because I don't want to say like, oh, we've made all these adjustments and progress in the way that we treat people who are disabled or whatever, because I honestly don't know. I don't know what their experience is, you know what I mean? Now, I myself have had, you know, suffered with mental illness and et cetera, but it's, I wouldn't consider myself like a disabled person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd like to know, like, what does an actual disabled person think, like, the type of job that we're doing as a society to make sure that those people are counted and make sure those people are, you know, valued and their voices are heard and all the rest of it, you know?
It's so funny because I didn't take this as somebody that was like had mental issues or bodily physical issues. I just thought it was like about, you know, like the community of people that make up like the death metal, like, you know, like they're like, a lot of them seem like they're like, you know, they've been through something, suffering and stuff like that. And then so I thought it was kind of like talking about that group of people. anguished mourning, unmeasured rage, hopeless, violent grief, all that stuff. And then in the end, the outro says, in this world, many men and women, many deaf and hard of hearing children. So it sounded like Jesus talks about people being like children. And he's saying that the children are being cut off of all communication. They're deaf and hard of hearing, and then they're cut off from all communication. So I thought it was like they're misunderstood. And so they're cut off of all communication, as in through the church. Like the church cuts off those people, like the true cult people get cut off from the church, so they're cut off from the communication, estranged in the midst of their brothers. So they're hurt by those they love. Like, because it seems to me, the more people that we talk to, that there is, there's this desire to get close to the spiritual things, but yet at the same time, there's been so much hurt by what they're trying, and they seem like a very, a very spiritual group of people, even though they're estranged from the church. And so, he says, hurt by those that they love. May the Lord accompany them so that their eyes and hands be the sign of his reconciliation. So my thought with that was that the church thinks that they're all good because they're in the church, you know what I mean? But that God is really in the midst of those people, and that the sign of God's reconciliation with the church is that the eyes and hands of those people are actually back in and amongst the church. So until that happens, the reconciliation hasn't technically taken place, because you can't have people.
Right, and then you have to define what the church is. We're not saying they go to a building on a Sunday.
Right.
But
I'm saying the building on the Sunday is what they're estranged from.
Well, yeah.
They're left out of the church, and so, but God is with them.
Well, yeah, I think there's a difference between going to the building and being the church.
Absolutely.
So, which that there's a distinction, but a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So, like, the church is simply the gathering of the community of God.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, if you take the first premise that there is a God and that He made us, that would mean that then there is a community where He operates in and lives in and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so the church is just simply a nickname for the community of the people of God. Mm-hmm. And so we're not talking about like bringing someone to a building per se. Like it's kind of like the difference between a house and a home, right? Mm-hmm. Like a house is, the structure, but if there's no family living in it, then it's not a home.
Right.
A home is where your family is, and you say like come home. You don't say come to the house. Mm-hmm. Now, I saw this meme one time, and it was talking about like the difference in relationship status, where you say, come over to the house if it's your girlfriend, but if it's your wife, you say come home. And so there's a difference there, right? And so the church is kind of functions like that. The building is just a house if the family element of what Jesus was aiming to build is not there. Mm-hmm. And so, no, I think your point is very well taken. And on a metaphorical level, if you're talking about, there's a lot of people who are mega insightful about God and about life and death and things like that are completely cut off from the home because there's people in the house who think that they're going to dictate how everybody should think, feel, act, and for sure, there are boundary markers for what makes what brings a person in the family, for sure. I'm not compromising. I'm just saying that God's made that bar pretty simple.
Yeah.
Do you believe that Jesus lived and died and rose again for you? Yes. Okay, then you're in.
Yeah.
All the other stuff, figure it out.
Right.
But that's in, and they belong in home, and you get the bread and the wine, and let's have a party. But but we have so many predilections about who people are and what they are, and we make so many assumptions about them that in my mind, their own mental well-being, they need to be as far away from the house as possible. And I forgot who it was, but we were talking about a couple I got a friend of ours that we made a couple days ago, and he went to Satanism for a while, and stuff had happened, and I'm not gonna. Well, actually, he did say he could share. He was abused by a priest, and so then he got hooked up with some theistic Satanists for a while. And to me, it's like, well,
Makes complete sense.
I think I think he did that for his own spiritual and mental well-being. Now he's swinging the other way and kind of trying to feel his way out, trying to see where his actual path is. But for the few moments that he was in that, I get it, and I don't think that. I think that he needed that for his own well-being.
Yeah.
He needed to be able to go to the opposite team because the people on that team were so absolutely destructive to him.
Right.
And so I'm grateful that there were people in his life to at least give him some sense of empowerment or whatever, so that he could recover from the abuses that happened in the church. So
I totally agree.
It's the more and more I see it, the more it's like, yeah, these people, go to Satanism and real dark stuff because we've been so horrible and satanic to them that Satan, like how really fucked up do you have to be as a person to make Satan a more viable option than Jesus because you are so satanic in the way that you treat people? And we have to own that as a church. Like, this is, we've done that, and from that perspective, I'm grateful. Because a lot of times in Satanism, it's a lot about empowerment and overcoming obstacles and all the rest of it, and for a short period in these people's life, they need that.
I totally agree.
To undo the evil that's been done.
No judgment here,
So I mean, don't stay there, dear listener.
Yeah. Right.
But
come to our side. We have corn and cookies.
We have corn. Yes.
That's on the band.
All right. What do you get the song?
Okay, I have one more thing to say, is that when they did I'm going by my interpretation of the song.
Yeah.
When it's doing that part that's like that group of people, they really I've never heard them go so much with that type of lyrical style, which to me kind of went along with more of what I was saying, where it's like those people, and if those people were to do a song that was to express themselves, it would have to be even more so, because this is the truth of who they are. So I just thought it was all encompassing, really, really well done, to communicate their point, if their point is what I was saying it is. So if it is, then it's a 10 for me. For my own personal taste, no, it's it would be lower than that. But for what if they were trying to accomplish that, it would be a 10.
It had some folky parts to it too.
It did.
That I really enjoyed. So it's weird. Every time I listen to folky metal, it always reminds me of Legend of Zelda, the very, very first one. And at the time, I didn't understand the difference between a commercial and the real gameplay. So they would talk about Link and the story in the cartoon, and I thought it was going to be like that, and obviously it's just this 8-bit thing or whatever. But anyway, that has nothing to do with it. It's a 9.3 for me. Really, really well done. I like the folkiness. Most of the time I'm like, man, I wish there was more lyrics, but I'm not sure. When you look at the outro. By the way, shout out, who was the person that did that translation?
Which villager?
We had one of our French Canadian members try their hand to translate. It took months. That's crazy. So shout out to that guy. And shout out to True Cult.
Probably had to understand it first.
Yeah, it's like old school French, archaic French. So I'm going to give it actually a point. This is the first time I've ever done this, but due to the effort, it's getting 2 points, so it's 9.5.
There you go.
Just due to the effort. I'm serious, man. That I've never done that before. We've done over 1,000 videos. I've never done that before, where actual somebody from the village influences to that degree. But you got to give it to them. Good night. All right, so there you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.